Like many of you in the room, I have my own experiences with rare disease in my family. And it really is because of all of our stories, our collective stories, that we're here, and that we need to take a moment to examine and celebrate the progress that we've made over the last 40 years. But we owe it to this generation of rare disease patients to not plan for the next 40 years. Well, we do need to plan for the next 40 years, but to not just plan for the next 40 years. We really need to seize the opportunities that are in front of us today. And my job today is to wrap things up and talk about some of those policy opportunities that are in front of us. Just highlight a few of those. So, what are those opportunities in front of us today? First and foremost, protecting those existing incentives that you've heard about today, those incentives that were passed as part of the Orphan Drug Act 40 years ago. Those incentives, such as the Orphan Drug Tax Credit, have already been reduced in some ways. The original credit was 50%, it was reduced to 25%. There have been conversations in the past about limiting that tax credit even more. We can't go back. We are here to talk about how we go forward. First and foremost, we need to protect the incentives that exist today. But we can't stop there. We need to make sure that we are not limiting the incentives that are out there artificially, especially in the area of finding new uses for already approved drugs. This goes along with what you heard about from Ben. And the fact that an unintended consequence that was built into the Inflation Reduction Act has the impact of limiting the incentive to invest in repurposed drug research. And that is not only not good for patients, it's letting policy drive the innovation rather than really where the science is and what's most efficient for patients. We also need to protect and strengthen the accelerated approval pathway. The user fee process this year brought to light a number of ways, a number of consensus policies that we feel like makes sense to help tighten up and strengthen the accelerated approval pathway especially for the use in rare diseases. We want to see that strengthened and grown. How can we unleash the potential of the accelerated approval pathway? But first and foremost, we need to get those pieces of the user fee bill that haven't made it across the finish line. Next, we can do more to invest in improving our understanding of rare diseases, natural history, clinical trial conduct, endpoint design, and otherwise, regulatory science challenges. The main way that this is done right now, Congress appropriates money for the FDA's Orphan Products Grant Program. That grant program is a critical resource for the rare disease community. It funds areas that have very limited resources otherwise. And it is filling a unique niche, yet the funding has been flat for years. It is not funded up to its full authorization. And the program has demonstrated the need greatly outweighs the available resources that they have every year to invest. We can do more, and we know that the need is out there. This is a relatively small amount of money in the big picture, and we know we need to do more for this program. We can do more in the area of patient-focused drug development. We have really made tremendous progress over the last decade plus in centering the patient perspective in the drug development process. But what hasn't happened is we haven't carried that information through to the regulatory decision-making into the access environments as well. So how can we come together, and you heard about this from Congresswoman Matsui in the Benefit Act, how can we do more to make sure that that information is not just collected as part of the process and guiding company efforts, but it's actually used in the regulatory decision-making as it applies to the benefit risk framework. And lastly, we can do more to facilitate earlier communication between regulators and payers and sponsors. We know that earlier communication is an idea that is endorsed by the House. It was recognized in the user fee bill in Section 810, where they had set out some clarifying guidelines for what type of communication can occur. But we also know that we can go beyond that as we had proposed in the STAT Act, to actually formalize this communication process, create a third-party payer program, much like the Centers for Devices have. It's voluntary. It is meant to enable stronger clinical trial design, stronger education of payers, so that we come out on the end of a decision with more informed payers that can make quicker access decisions and more appropriate access decisions for the community. So these are just a few of the issues facing rare disease therapeutic development today. They're certainly not all of them, but we know that we're here today to talk about therapeutic development, and we wanted to highlight just a few of the ways, not 40 years from now, but today, next year, that you all can take action and get behind these common sense ways to advance outcomes for rare disease patients. So happy to answer any questions after we kick off the Q&A, but thank you for listening.